Hey, what's up, guys? Is METAGAMESGX here, and I'm finally making a video post ban list about Branded. This isn't going to be my exact deck profile, but we're going to make a list here and go through kind of tech options and then also what you should be doing with Branded post ban list, because of course, arguably one of the most impactful ban lists of all time just dropped with YuGiOh. It had like 20 30 hits on it. It was kind of crazy, and we ended up getting a lot of just like cards that were really good against branded, like hit like Dimension Shifter to 1, Talents to 1, and things like that, or especially Abyss Dweller, which was like definitely Abyss Dweller and Shifter were like two of the worst things for branded last format. And then also Ryzeal and Malice got pretty heavily hit. I mean, they're still probably the best decks. Odeon's probably also the third best deck. That's probably the top 3 decks in my opinion. However, I still think that branded is extraordinarily well positioned this format now. So I wanted to kind of just go through what we could probably be doing this format, because now that Shifter's gone, I think that, well, I mean, Shifter's not gone, it's at 1, but I think that kind of changes the equation. You can start considering certain cards like Nadir Servant, I think, again, maybe even the Examina package, because Detonator's at 1, so I feel like your Ryzeal matchup is just like infinitely better now, because you just out the Detonator and then it's all good. Just, I mean, you aren't a deck that can necessarily run Metal Tronus very well, but I still think that there's a lot of room for, growth with branded, especially, and especially now that our matchups against Ryzeal and I think more importantly Malice now is a lot better, because Malice got hit kind of hard with all their consistency hits, because Malice, you guys got to remember, is kind of a bricky deck to begin with. So the fact that they got a lot of their one card starters just like to 2 is actually kind of a big hit to them in my opinion. I mean, we'll obviously have to see how it pans out, but this is all just speculation. But I've talked to enough Malice players and good players that I've heard between the link decoder ban and then also all the limits between the names, even the Malice and Underground got limited. It's kind of crazy, except for Dormouse, but that's like fine for them. I mean, yes, there is new Malice support, in Alliance Insight, but I think the link decoder ban actually gets to be a bit of a big hit to Malice, because you just don't have a free body anymore on your link summon, so that you end up actually just kind of, not doing too well into hand traps anymore. So you can actually hand trap Malice, and you're like, oh, you're branded, you aren't hand trapping Malice. But the thing is that Nightmare Griffin also got banned and Shifter went to 1. So it's like, yes, they're still going to be making Cryptor pass, but first of all, they're going to be less consistent. They aren't going to be stacking you with Shifter nearly as much. Like, sure, they're probably still going to run the 1 of Shifter. I probably would too if I was a Malice player. However, I don't think it's going to be far less that you lose to that kind of card. And also, you could even consider some hand traps in Branded now, in my opinion, just because the deck's got a lot weaker. If you Ryzeal has like no one card. I mean, it lost like a lot of its one card starters. Like, I think Fiendsmith Ryzeal is arguably, it's not dead, but it has a lot of issues in my opinion, because it lost 3 of its one card starters with Ice Ryzeal and then 2 bonfires, and the deck didn't really want to run 7th Tachyon before. I mean, I guess it can, and I guess it probably will, but I feel like people are going to go and find different options than Fiendsmith Ryzeal. I think that Ryzeal, in terms of things, like, you will still see Ryzeal probably, it's going to be Ryzeal or Malice or Odeon, I think, being the best decks, unless something else steps up. I think Crystron might actually be a sleeper. I mean, Mermail got really hit. Yes, Mermail can still do other things I'm not going to mention in this video, but, I mentioned enough on my live stream. But, they're going to be able to do other things that aren't as good, as also rest in peace Grass going to 2. I bought a second copy just to see if it would go to 2. Hopefully the dream won't die one of these days. But yeah, no, it's one of those things that, if Ryzeal is going, it's probably going to be a pure Ryzeal meta, if anything. Also Maximus, we're going to talk about this. I think pure Ryzeal is actually going to be probably the play overall, if you're running a Ryzeal deck. Also, Mitsu Ryzeal is looking really good, especially with potential new support on the horizon. So I don't want to, maybe the new support's not very good, but if it ends up being pretty good, I think it will actually be probably the best Ryzeal variant. But honestly, we'll see if like we'll see what happens there. And either way, I think that, I think Branded's actually really well positioned in this format because you already had a pretty good. Your pure Ryzeal matchup was extraordinarily favored if you didn't see Dweller, and now that Dweller's out of the format, it's very good now. And then with Malice, without them having Shifter once again, and without Nightmare Griffin was also a big issue for Branded because it made it so you had to have non-engine to out it, and that like outed the not that wasted the non-engine on a card that you wish you could use on like something else, like Whitebinder or something like that. So it, not having to like hardcore run Xyz Encore or things like that, I think is really valuable right now. So I think that's just fine. Also, I just went through all my Branded staples. Now I have to go through the actual staples. So we're going to do that right now. And like I think Nadir Servant, like I was talking about that before, I think is going to be very good because there's no more Abyss Dweller. So I think Nadir Servant is going to be very, very good because Dominus Impulse, Malice is still going to be there. I think Mermail will probably still be around, eventually once they recollect and find a build that they all settle on. So I still think you're going to need things like Lancia for the Malice matchup. I think Malice isn't an impossible matchup now, though. I think that you can definitely go second into Malice because it's going to be a lot of Cryptor passing, and you can play into Cryptor Pass, right? Because you're dealing with like a GWC banish and then Cryptor banish, and then dealing with the Whitebinder banishes in your graveyard, and you can deal with that with Branded. That's a few interruptions. Obviously, now that Druiswarm's at 1 as well, they aren't just going to have Druiswarm to always just do really stupid things with. So, and with Malice, or sorry, Ryzeal not ending on Dweller anymore because it's banned, I think that Nadir gets a lot better to play around hand traps too. So I think I'm going to be testing Nadir, I believe, in my build because this should like take care of anything that Malice can do to me, basically going first. And I think going second, it's not bad because you can now break boards with Engine. You can break a Malice or a Ryzeal board with Engine now because Dweller's not a thing, so that's really good. Obviously, you do still want to see like non-Engine, but I think it's got a lot easier to go second into those decks with Branded, so that's always good. Also, Triple Tactics Talents, yes, it just went to 1, so rest in peace running 2, so we're just gonna have to take that out. And Super Poly, I think, is going to Super Poly is always good into a new meta. Same with Droll and Lockbird. Like I think a lot of decks, that's what I was saying with Branded running hand traps, you could end up running still Molcharmy, but I think Fuwalos will be great into this new format. Obviously, I think I saw a lot of people running Perulia over Fuwalos in the last format. I think Fuwalos is just going to be a lot better into the beginning of a new format. And since not everyone's going to be on Ryzeal, I think Ryzeal's still good, but it's not going to be the overwhelming favorite. So, things like Fuwalos and then Droll and Lockbird if you don't have Fuwalos, but obviously it got a reprint, so you should probably get your Fuwalos. And, Fuwalos is going to be also a great option to go second into decks, and then it's also a high spirits bridge, obviously, into Branded, which is going to be a card I still think we should be running because, once again, Droll and Lockbird is amazing into new formats, and a lot of these decks are going to be losing to Droll and Lockbird a lot more, like Malice and Ryzeal. All these hits, it just makes them lose to Droll more because they have to run things like Sign Up Mining or 7th Ascension, and they just auto-lose on the spot to Droll with things like that. So, obviously Nadir isn't good into Droll, but Shifter isn't there as much, and the Bastiles aren't there as much, so I think Nadir got a lot better. Like, this card resolves Branded Fusion going second, because you're able to obviously, and I have multiple combo guides on my channel. I'm going to be releasing a new combo guide pretty soon. I just have to start working on it. You send on the Albion, and then you send the Titanclad, and you can get like a Quem and a Brandon Red, and then that basically equals a Mirror Jade. You could also send things like the Lulu Wall Lilith, which I had around here. I think I put it over here. I think Lulu is something that we can end up running, especially if I'm already running the Super Poly with like Garura. I still think a lot of the dynamics of the old format are going to be there, Malice and Ryzeal, but Malice might fall off. We'll end up seeing, but I still think it still ends up being a pretty good deck overall. And general cards like Lightning Storm and Feather Duster, I think, still will be great into the side deck. Droplet might end up just coming out of our decks now because we don't need it for the Dweller. I still think it's great into the Whitebinder though, and it's really good into Detonator, obviously. I mean, you can obviously just send one thing. You kind of go nag on Detonator, so that's why I don't like it. And they also keep the cross, so like this is why I'm just kind of iffy on this. So I might consider this for the side deck, and we no longer need Xyz Encore, so I mean you can still run it, I think, before the detonator, I think is fine. So we could consider that for that, but I don't think you really need this anymore, to be honest. It's not really that good of a card in my opinion anyway. Yeah, no, Fuwalos, Stroll, and Lockbird. Once again, I think that we could consider running as well. A lot of the traditional hand traps too, I think, would be better if we had Maxx. Like Ash would be mandatory in Branded, I think, if we had Maxx in the format, but we don't, so we don't have to deal with that. Rest in peace, Crossout Designator. Never have to deal with that again. Crossing out like my talents or something like that. Always was annoying. Also, I think Book of Eclipse potentially has some play in the new meta. I just still think with Malice being there, if Malice just falls off, I think this card could be very good because it's very good into Ryzeal. And a lot of people are just like not even running ending on the Eclipse setup sometimes. So I think this could go in if like Malice just completely falls off. Consider running Book of Eclipse because Book of Eclipse is just like really good into a general meta. And it also helps you like go first through hand traps very well, so that's always very good. Let's grab another stack of cards here. So, all right. Getting into more of the just general staples, we have the Shaddoll package too. I think the Shaddoll package could be very good actually without Dweller in the format, so that's something that we could definitely consider. One Druisworm just for the lulls, right? That could be something to just run. I think Dark Ruler is very good post Yummy format, so definitely get your Dark Rulers there. I'm gonna take out the Shaddoll package because I think that's actually something to consider post. Because like without Dweller, I think Shaddoll package is crazy going second. Like it always resolves now. Snatch, Steal, Change of Heart maybe just for like random takes could be just pretty okay. Psalm Strikes maybe for some going first cards. I still think like the best going first card is Fusion Duplication in Branded though, so if you're gonna be doing that, and also Meowls is something that we could also potentially run for Malice. Definitely something like that. Or just like, you know, random other decks that still hits. I think that the Mulcharmies are definitely things that we can run more of. You know, we saw, you know, some people run like 6 Mulcharmies and stuff like that. Like I think the second place Branded list from the regional ran like basically all Mulcharmies, or I guess he would have if he could have. I forgot what it was. But anyways, yeah, let's see if I can find my Perulio because I don't know where they are. I don't think we really need Book of Moon. I mean, we have, you know, Book of Eclipse. I think Book of Moon is just strictly better in Branded. Multiple Lubellion could be a thing, but like once again, we don't have Verte. Rest in peace, the dream of Verte coming back. Pod Desires, you know, Branded Fusion didn't come back to 3, unfortunately, so Pod Desires is still just not a runnable card. Meltronus is just not really a runnable card in Branded. Here's the Perulios. Sanctum Barrier, maybe just for the Ryzeal Malice matchup. Ghost Spell's very good also now against Malice, so this could be something just to like stop the Bastials, and then also like called by, and then also just like, I mean, like, yeah, the Bastials are now more limited, but this is something that you could consider because it's good going first and going second in Branded. And also the Azamina package, like I said, could be potentially okay, but I haven't quite taken it out yet just because it's not, I mean, once again, it's just like still not great into Detonator because Detonator just pops, right? The Deception, and then you cry. So yeah, we have all of our staples here. This is mainly side deck stuff, but I think like we can take the Book of Moons, we could take the Fuwalos, obviously, the Nadirs. I don't think Druisworm is probably main deckable. Plus the talents and put them over there. Put those over there, and then we can make our main deck here. So when we're looking at the new format, I think we want to not switch it up too much, but I do think we have to consider a lot where our going second, you know, we don't have to run these must run cards like the Xyz Encore and the Droplet anymore just to answer things like the Abyss Dweller. And then also Malice doesn't, you know, we can actually start playing into their board with our engine now. So I think, you know, running things also Odeon. Like I think Odeon's going to be very good. So we need to have, you know, I think evenly matched is going to be required for Odeon in the side deck for sure. And I believe Book of Eclipse, I don't think it outs. I do believe it outs Odeon. So something that like it outs the negate, the monster negate. So that's also something to consider, I believe. Um, so I do want to run the Nadirs, like I said, Fuwalos. And I think Super Poly is going to be my other board breaker of choice this format so far because I think it goes really well with the Nadir, and then also it's just a very good draw card, and then also I'm gonna run like Mud Dragon Garura because it's a new format, so there's gonna be a lot of different things. I just want to have the most options to be able to do things. Also, I might just run a Masquerade over the Mud Dragon. We'll see. Um, Thrust obviously goes in. I think we're gonna be running 2 or 3 at the very least. We could take advice from Oscar, where Oscar was running 2 in his list. Here's the Maximus. Keeper might be interesting with Brilliant Fusion when that comes out, so keep an eye on that. Um, there's the Mercurier, there's Magma. I still think we run that. Foolish Burial. Super Poly, Albion, second Mercurier for the Allure of Darkness, 1 Quem, 1 Gold Sark. I think 1 Quem is actually just it's just the sweet spot. I haven't been needing 2 a whole lot lately. Gold Sark, Adlib. I don't think I want to run Adlib. I think I want to run Odo over Adlib in this build. Double fusion duplication goes on the side. Nadir, I might just not even run Nadir because Nadir also does brings us up really high, to be honest. So like what, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Yeah. Yeah, I think if we just don't run the Nadir at that point, because I don't want to run anything that brings me over, you know, um, what I don't need to be at. I mean, we could run the Nadir over the Allure, but I think Allure is just in a perfect position at this point, and we could just keep it like that. So this is what the list is looking like right now. It's very similar to what we've been cooking with, but I think it's just kind of like the side deck and things that, and a Despian Tragedy. Got it. So yeah, we don't need those, and then we are able to run that. And then Nadir might just be like something for the side deck, but it is something I want to consider also going forward. Like we could just run 54 with Nadir maybe. That might be kind of something cool. Could just do like 54 with Nadir. Let's see how that looks. You know, despite Verte not being in the game, I think we could actually probably limit test the 60 card build of Brandon in the TCG because of the fact that Dweller is gone now. So since Dweller's gone, it's like we could run 60 and just have like a lot of options and a lot of gas to be able to go second. So like it will be able to house like basically all the options that we want. Like this version I have like Blazing Branded King, Branded Retribution. This is something that I've been actually testing out in Master Duel where double retribution is like quite nice going into things like you know, Ryzeal, so you can like actually just pitch it and then get back something from your graveyard that like they're lost if they might pop with Detonator. Um, it's also very good just for the grass because I think grass is just a banger now. Like this card always, you know, just ends up winning the game and you don't have to worry about Dweller now. So, you know, at the beginning of most formats, I tend to go for the 60 card build just to see to feel out the format. I feel like grass is going to be able to punch a lot of holes. You can run things like Black Oat Laughs too, so it's more of a board breaker. Or this goes very well with the Shadal stuff as well, because if you go grass and you have the Shadal stuff in, then you just like start milling board breakers, which is pretty nice too. So I think that's something that we can consider. Blazing Branded King's just so good too as an interruption end board piece, because then you can just start setting like these 2+ red. You know, searching these out, setting them off of Albion, and then just layering your end board. And a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you need Light and Darkness Dragon Lord anymore? And I'm probably not going to be running the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord in this build. And it's not like the card's bad. I think it's actually quite good, but I think it was a lot better with Shifter. I think without Shifter in the format, this card got a bit worse in Branded. So right now I'm not going to be running this card. You know, rest in peace, Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. We hardly knew ye. I think it's fine. I think we have to consider other things like Lulu Wall Lilith might be something I end up running because of Nadir Servant. Masquerade's also something that we could consider. Alba Lenatus because of Blue Eyes might be a thing, because Blue Eyes is looking to be very good post Banlist. 2 Mirror Jade might be something to consider. Like I said, second Guignol 2. We need to run the Rinbrum. Quertus is standard. Sanctifier standard for the Mulcharmy line, even if we don't run the lock. Chaos Star Source, I think, is standard at this point. And then we could put to the side just super poly targets. Borload maybe. Mirror Jade, the first Mirror Jade, obviously. Garura for the Nadir, we have to run it. And then also super poly. Lubellion, Albion, and then Stepalia for the Super Poly. So we have 3 flex spots that we could, put cards from basically here into at this point. Obviously there are other cards in Branded that you could run. I think also, no, we already have the Quertus, but I think that Proskinion is also still arguably pretty decent into this new format. However, I am going to take it out for right now just because I think the Malice end boards, this isn't great into Malice anymore, so there's not really, it's okay into Ryzeal, but like the Mitsu Ryzeal variant, I don't know how popular it's going to be, so I'm going to put that right there. I think Boral is just a good option overall, just having something to make. Also, Stepalia is also just great to have when you have, Super Poly in your deck. So I think I'm going to run those. And then also the second Gwignall, it's either this if we run the lock, or we just end up running like main deck Masquerade or a Mirror Jade or like the Lulu. But I think overall we can just end up running the second Gwignall and call it a day. And then we can main deck like the ad lib, I think we could do that. Maybe like basically like take out a few of the things, because Darwin obviously showed us that we could just, run the ad lib, the one Mirror Jade, and we're kind of like just chilling at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm gonna look for my ad lib. We are not running we are not running, unfortunately, Light and Darkness Dragon Lord anymore. I think we should be prioritizing ourselves on making more layered on boards. I think Banishment's a fine card. I think, Lad is a fine card, but I think overall it's not really the best option into the new format. So when you're running Adlib, you could obviously send this off of the Gwignall, and you have 2 Gwignall, so if you get Ashed, you can always set up. It's also good to going second as well, but also you can still run the Ido as well, which is just fine in my opinion. I think Ido is one of our best Molcharmy lines, and also it's just like very good still. I just feel like this loses to, Bastiles also and stuff like that, but Jerusalem did just go to 1, so this is something that we could consider also just, keeping in our deck also, and maybe just taking out some of the bricks as well. We could just take out these 2 things and then run these 2 because they are engine as well, which I do like kind of. And then keeping the double branded in red. And also I think with 60 card, we also do want to run obviously branded in white, because branded in white kind of makes this build go around. And also, like I mentioned before, the Nadir Servants, I think they're just like 1 card starters in this deck. So that's why you can run the 60 card build, because you draw this, you can draw like Foolish, Allure, any Aluber, you basically are completely fine, and you have tons of way because of the gas to play through hand traps as well. So that's why I do like the 60 card build in this variant. We'll see. I know a lot of people, a lot of builds have been topping with 50 cards, but I did want to try out the 60 card build. I do think that is something that has a lot of, credence to run with Abyss Dweller being banned now, Shifter, going. It makes it so anything, all the gas that the 60 card build is running is going to be able to go through. Like I already see, tier players salivating essentially to end up getting to, because they can just run the 60 card build, right? Like, and just get away with murder essentially. A lot of people are like, why are you running Molcharmy in 60 card? It's because it's a high spirit bridge, and then also if you draw it, right? Like I think it matters in that case. It's also not a bad top deck as well, because if you just use it on your opponent's turn, you'll get a couple draws usually, depending on the deck. So yeah, this is going to be the build. We'll show this off on a new video. I also do just have to make like the side deck and stuff like that, but I wanted to talk some theory and, my thought process in making this build and cards that you guys could be considering post Banlist. Also, Lulu, like I said, is something really to consider with Nadir Servant. Once again, I think Masquerade, obviously, for time is great. And then just the Super Poly targets, if you are running Super Poly, I think there are other board breakers that you can be running, though. Like, obviously, Triple Tactics Talents is at 1. I think Thrust is still just fine. Just run the 1 Talents, and then you can search off a Thrust. Also, things like Droplet, I think, are kind of weaker with Xyz Encore, so you should be looking at things like Book of Eclipse, and then also Dark Ruler No More might be okay, but I think overall, like, Droplet might just still be the overall, like, Super Poly and Droplet, like, still just end up being the best board breakers in Branded plus Book of Eclipse, so probably just, like, cycling between those 3 sets of board breakers. And then just debating if you're going to be running the 50 or 60 card build. I think 60 has, once again, just a lot other, power going forward with a Dweller being banned. So, 50 was very good because you weren't really affected by Dweller too much, and you could still win the game. And now with Dweller gone, you can run things like Nadir, which is good going first, and it's okay going second. You can dump your hand and then go 6th card Nadir, which a lot of people forget about. and the card just resolves a branded fusion. So yeah, guys, what did you guys think? What was your favorite part of this video? Let me know down below. How are you changing your branded deck post banlist? Are you excited to play Yu-Gi-Oh? The new banlist is great, man. Like with all the Ryzeal hits, the Malice hits, and then the general hits like Crossout, Talents, and Shifter, I think the game is in a lot better place. I'm very excited to play and make content. I also do want to mention before we go here that Gizmek Uka is actually looking to be an incredible option post banlist because Fiendsmith is completely unhit, so Gizmek Uka can just hit on the Requiem and then give you a free Mirror Jade. So it might even be worth main decking, or at the very least considering side decking this new format for the Fiendsmith cards. And also just like randomized Ryzeals, so definitely this might be Gizmek Uka's best format. So look on forward to my new updated Mitsurugi Ryzeal list, and then also my updated branded list I showed you guys a preview for here. And with that being said, MetaGamesGX signing out. We have a great day and see you later.